Yo, what is up, guys? Today we're here to share some of my Assault Rumble teams for this season. Hopefully helps you guys get your scores up in case you're struggling. Even if you don't have the same investments or units, it could give you some inspiration and steer you in the right direction. So let's start with the Whitebeard boss. At first I wanted to stick with the rules and lean on build heavy on strikers and int units. The team was extremely tanky thanks to all the special bind, confusion, shields, paralysis, half stats coming from Smoker, Saturn, Nami, Yamato, and the sword units. I mean, the level of tankiness was very impressive. We had around 60 defense while blanketed in shield at some point. I even took the same team to Grand Party and it performed pretty well. But we severely lacked in damage, because most of the striker heavy hitters like Raja and Whitebeard mostly rely on HP cuts, which you guys know health cuts don't work in Assault Rumble, or have little synergy with strikers like Yamato and Luffy. Basically, the whole striker meta is held together with glue. And also partly because, let's be honest, strikers have been historically bad, so it's rare that people invest in those units, unless it's a versus unit like Law from Whitebeard versus Law, or the secondary class of those units are good, like if the secondary class is Slasher or Shooter, you're gonna invest in those units if they're good in PvP. So hopefully we get some new strikers that work well from this new batch coming next week. So anyway, because of that, I started seeing people using just normal teams versus this boss, like the Dex team or the Strength team. So I just went with a dry meta Dex team because it has no fighters, and the Strength team has too many key units that are fighters. And the result was pretty amazing. After a couple attempts, I ended up with a very high score, as you'll see in this footage. Obviously, the results will vary based on the level of investment you have in the units, the RNG factor, like which characters gets specially rewinded by Ace. But for most people, I think the Dex team is the way to go because most people have good investments in their Dex units, and from testing, I think any high damage team must have at least 2 nukers and 2 to 3 defensive units that provide heal, shield, or debuff, and also that gives some special CT and attack and stats. So let's go to the Luffy boss now. I would have used my Dex team versus this boss too, but it has too many driven units and this fight Gimp's driven characters. And I've seen people have good results with the Strength team, but because I don't have Christmas Uta and the waifus, I just stuck with my original team and tried to tweak it and make it work to the best of my ability. The main units to work with are Atlas, Robin Koala, Shanks, Ivankov, the Lit Usopp, the Int rare recruit. If you have him, he's very underrated for this fight. New Year Sabo and Chopper and Yamato. I added Chopper and Shanks for more survivability, which worked, but it hurts my damage greatly. And I removed Lilith and Usopp and Ivankov, thinking I need more CT and attack, and it hurt the team. But I came to the conclusion that despite contributing greatly to the team's survivability, Chopper was the one hurting our damage. The best results were with these two iterations, the ones with Ohm, Yamato, Shanks, Robin, Koala, and Atlas, and the original team that mostly relies on Shanks' shield and RNG to deal the most damage. Because after all, you can have the perfect comp and still have a huge amount of variance in results based on RNG. So I think some kind of iteration that includes some of these units is the way to go if you don't have a stacked strength meta team. And finally, the worst fight in Assault Rumble history, which is very promising, the Aino fight. How they went on about how badly designed this fight is, and how 4 different enemies that each have a special that's hard to counter under the conditions they want you to run this fight as, aka with slashers, that are very squishy and rely on KOing their enemies quickly to survive. How are they supposed to survive for 90 seconds when the enemies can't be KO'd? Anyway, long story short, I went with the Dex team again. I had to remove Ace because he's a shooter. I'm sure you can get away without replacing him if you try a couple times and get some good damage results. But I went with Brook. He's a healer, which I believe is important to get a good score in this fight. And he's a Dex and Slasher that works well with this team. The 8th anniversary Dex Luffy would have been great for this team, with his full CG charge when below 50% and reviving an ally, but sadly if I added him I would have to get rid of versus Kaido, which I'm not doing because I have a lot of investments and he does a lot of damage. Other teams I've seen are the meta strength team without Kuma because he's a shooter, and of course the meta slashers with the Roger Rayleigh Gaban instead of Roger Whitebeard, and Pray for Survival. But this Dex team is what works for me. Anyway, I hope this helped you guys. That's it for me. Please like and subscribe. Thanks to all the people that subscribed to the channel so far. It means a lot to me, and have a nice day.